Hi, everybody. I'm PJ Kwong for SGS Live. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about a topic that has ramifications that can hit close to home. Let's talk gas processing. Have you ever stopped to think about what it takes to heat our homes, the power we need to turn on the lights, or the propane that we use in our barbecue grills, and what happens when these day-to-day necessities are disrupted? There are many intricate steps in the gas treating process that need to meet safety guidelines, quality standards, and environmental regulations. When the gas treating process is not operating to plan, who do we depend on to get operations back on track? And what happens if we don't? In short, for this discussion, we're going to be talking about refining the process at all stages and making sure that the oil and gas industry operates smoothly. For today's conversation, I am joined by three experts. The first, Imraan Nabi, is the Director of Analytical Services for SGS North America.
Hi, PJ. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Imraan. It's great to see you. Our next expert is Derek Zaharko, Senior Manager for Sulphur Experts.
Thanks, PJ, for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you, Derek. And our final expert is Richard Pawlik, Sales Engineer, also for Sulphur Experts, a member of the SGS Group.
Hi, PJ. Hey, everybody. Great to be here.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, everybody. Okay. Let's get started. Imraan, I'm going to start with you. SGS has already been in this space for a while. Can you give me a bit of a rundown as to what services you provide? From what I understand, SGS comes in during the upstream and then for the finished product, and that the SGS focuses more on the day-to-day. Can you, as I said, give me a bit of a rundown as to what services SGS provides?
Absolutely. Thank you, PJ. The business line I represent for SGS is Natural Resources. Our focus is on the testing, inspection, and certification of oil, gas, and chemical products. Primarily, we're working with finished products that are ready to use, such as liquid fuels, including gasoline and diesel, aviation and marine fuels, as well as gaseous fuels that are used to generate power in plants and also power our homes. And finally, we test a variety of chemicals, including those that may be found in your home as well, such as sodium hypochlorite, which is the primary chemical used for bleach. So we act as an independent intermediary between the buyer and the seller to verify the product's quality and quantity that's being transferred from one party to the other.
So as always, I always learn something new during these SGS Lives. I had no idea about bleach. But Derek, I'm going to ask you almost the same question. I know that Sulphur Experts is now a member of the SGS Group, and you guys come in the middle of the process and have more of a focus on troubleshooting. Can you please explain?
Absolutely, PJ. And I want to thank you guys for having us. This is a great platform. I've watched a few of these episodes and extreme amount of knowledge is shared through these platforms. So I do appreciate it. And I want to say hi to all our SGS family out there and our Sulphur Experts family watching. We've been around for over 60 years now. And we capture the middle part of refinery and gas processing. We started as troubleshooting sulfur recovery units. We're an engineering firm. We would get calls out to help troubleshoot and optimize sulfur units. But when we got out there, we found that there's only so much you can do by just getting out there and helping the operations. What we need to do is we need to gather data and sample. We need to figure out what's going on inside the process. And the best way to do that is to sample. It's like taking a vial of blood from a patient. You don't really know what's going on with the patient until you do that analysis and figure out what exactly the contaminants are, how efficiently the operation's running. From that, we give it to our clients, and then we're able to troubleshoot and help optimize. But we found that in the sulfur plant, we were always restricted by what the upstream unit was doing because the feed gas was always fluctuating. So we got into the amine experts business by trying to optimize the amine unit to get a more consistent and steady and more efficient feed to the sulfur unit. And with that, of course, we started filtration experts a while back to help the separation component. And then dehydration expert was just a very, very natural progression.
Okay, Richard, I don't want you to feel left out. So do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Once again, great to be here. Like Derek said, when we gather the analytical component in the sulfur recovery unit or the amine treating unit in order to help us do that effective troubleshooting, those gases that we're working with are very dangerous and potentially deadly. So really nobody in the refinery or in the gas plant wants to go anywhere near them. So we've perfected a proprietary set of methods to do the sampling and the analysis of those gases. And by the way, we're talking high pressure, high concentration amine acid gas streams, sour water acid gas streams, what we call the interstage samples in the sulfur recovery unit. Stuff that if it made its way out into the atmosphere, like I said before, it could be potentially deadly. So it's these samples that we're analyzing on site. They are very dangerous and also highly reactive. So it requires a very specialized set of tools and procedures to make that happen.
Well, I have to tell you, my ears kind of perked up when I heard amine. So, Derek, I'm going to ask you about amine analysis. And can you give me a bit more information about that, as well as what happens after the on-site testing is done?
Yeah, the amine analysis is very typical to our standard on-site service. The amine is that vial of blood that we're able to diagnose the contaminants in, and we're better fitted to diagnose the problem within the unit. Now, saying that, once we gather this data, that's just only half the battle here. Now we have to analyze the data. We run it through simulation software. We provide very in-depth study and expand that scope so that we're able to provide the client with the most detailed product we can, which is ultimately the final report. We have been in facilities where we see this report on the desk and referred to many, many years after we leave the facility. So it's an extremely useful tool to our clients.
So, Imraan, I'm going to come to you. We've already mentioned that sulfur experts and SGS are already working together. Can you expand on that? Tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
Absolutely, PJ. So currently, SGS has a permanent place in refineries. We go out to these refineries and we're collecting samples on a regular basis, having those go out to our laboratories as well. SGS, we're known for our accuracy and the quick turnaround. But there are instances where a more representative sample is delivered when we actually perform this analysis on site and immediately after it's extracted. So this is where Sulphur Experts really helps us push the boundaries by being able to bring mobile testing capabilities on site, be able to provide our clients with real-time data and allow them to be able to modify their systems in an efficient and quick manner while our personnel are still there. And then again, be able to retest once they've modified their systems and be able to validate that the support that we've provided has actually assisted them in fixing their problem.
So it kind of begs the question, and Derek, I'm going to come to you for this one. Is there an instance where it makes more sense to ship the sample rather than doing on-site analysis?
Absolutely, PJ. Good question. And really, the three reasons why we're on site, and I think Richard did a great job of explaining it, same on number one, is that if it's too dangerous to ship, we take the most dangerous samples the refinery has to offer. And if it's too dangerous to ship, we are out there sampling on site. Secondly, as Imraan mentioned, is that when the results are critical to make changes to the operation, we need to be out there taking the sample, analyzing the sample, giving feedback to the client so they can make changes. And the third thing is if it's reactive. A lot of the samples react inside the container, so we want to make sure that we get those samples analyzed as soon as we take them, as soon as possible. But in terms of shipping out samples, that's extremely important as well. If it's a stable sample, a safe, stable sample, we highly recommend sending those samples to SGS. The other reason why we want to send samples is that when you bring a mobile lab on site, you are limited to the capabilities in terms of detail analysis. So if you're looking for a metal scan, we obviously can't bring an ICP on site. If you're looking for parts per billion, we can't bring a mass spec on site. So this is why SGS is critical to this, is that they're able to expand our analytical base, and we can provide our clients with extremely detailed analysis.
Speaking of detail, Richard, what else can you tell me?
I guess just to put it a different way is the type of samples that usually go out to SGS are generally finished products that are ready to be sent out to the general public or to industry for one purpose or another. Usually what we're called in to work on, though, are the parts of the process that are in between the feedstock and the final product. So they aren't meant to go out to the general public, but they can still give a lot of useful information on how that process is working. And that's what we're called in usually to work.
So interesting. And it's funny, we're talking that global, local kind of situation. And recently in Corpus Christi, there was a situation that's kind of parallels our discussion. So let's talk about it. Turns out that recently, as I said, in Corpus Christi, there was an issue at a refinery. And because it was in the field, it required a special kind of handling. So, Imraan, can you tell me more about the benefits to SGS with the kind of relationship and partnership you now have with Sulphur experts? And then I'm going to ask my friends at Sulphur experts to please weigh in.
Absolutely, PJ. So Corpus Christi was a good example of how we actually get a chance to work together. We have SGS facilities in Corpus Christi, yet we have the technical expertise of Sulphur experts that can mobilize to any location to be able to collect these samples. And as Derek mentioned earlier, there are certain tests that are not able to be performed on site. And in this case, with SGS and their global presence, not only in Corpus Christi, but in areas throughout the US and South America and the Middle East and Asia, we have the ability to support Sulphur experts by having that testing infrastructure in place and just allowing them to be able to come on site, perform the analysis that they need to, but then have supplementary analysis being performed at these facilities to be able to provide them, again, data as quickly as possible and limiting the time it takes from a sample to get from the site over to our laboratories.
Cool. Richard, what else do you have to say?
Yeah, so now we're basically a one-stop shop, whether it's the customer comes to SGS first or Sulphur experts first. We both have our areas that we like to specialize in. SGS has a vast amount of analytical and laboratory capabilities, and Sulphur experts has a more specialized set of analytical capabilities. But now those two are combined. So if Sulphur experts is working with a customer who wants to expand what they are asking us to do, or vice versa with SGS, now the customer can do that at a one-stop shop, like I said. So it's a very powerful tool now that we have.
As I knew would happen, and based on all of the comments that we have got a global audience tuning in. So we're going to take a look at some of the comments to see who's joined us. And if there's anybody from our plants in Botswana, Italy, Mexico, North Dakota, and Canada, a special hello to you. But basically, from all across the world, we are so happy that you joined us today. So thank you so much for that. And if you're just joining us, I'm here with experts Imraan Nabi from SGS and Derek Zaharko and Richard Pawlik from Sulphur Experts, a member of the SGS group. And we're talking about sulfur testing and so much more. So let's get back to some questions. So I'm curious. I mentioned vehicles and their engines off the top. So, Derek, can you tell me about the importance of low sulfur diesel?
Well, great question. And it comes up a lot is how we're involved with low sulfur diesel, because everyone sees it on their pumps whenever they're filling up their fuel. And really, there's two reasons why we are involved. And it's essentially the essence of who we are. Two reasons why you want to get low sulfur diesel. Number one, sulfur is a contaminant in diesel. And of course, in any combustion engine, a contaminant can be harmful to it. And secondly, it's a pollutant. So when you put sulfur in a combustion engine, it forms SO2. SO2, when emitted into the atmosphere, reacts with vapor in the atmosphere and forms SO3. SO3, of course, is acid rain. So what we do, if I take that to the refinery, all the crude oil brought into the refinery has the impurity of sulfur in the form of H2S. And what the refinery does is within these units, they want to remove that H2S through absorption in the amine unit. So what they're doing is taking the H2S out of the process gas or fluid, and then they concentrate it up, then send it to the refiner, to the regenerator. Regenerator regenerates that amine and forms a very concentrated stream that's fed to the SRU. Now, the SRU, with this extremely dangerous and high concentration H2S, converts all that H2S into sulfur. Now, where we come in is we want to get on the amine unit as much H2S out of that process as we can. And on the sulfur unit, we want to convert as much as that H2S to elemental sulfur, which is completely harmless to the environment and to the atmosphere. So that's basically essentially who we are, is optimization. How much sulfur can we remove?
You mentioned who we are. So I'm going to stick with you for the moment, Derek. And that is, can you give me, I don't know, a bit of a breakdown as to how Sulphur Experts is different from other analytical groups?
All right. Yeah, no problem, PJ. Great question. So what separates us is obviously, as Imraan mentioned, the mobile lab, our mobile component, how we can solve problems on site. But how I like to think of it is the range of projects we do. For example, last Sunday, we got a call from a pretty frantic client saying that they've lost DP in one of their absorbers and they're off spec on their off gas, and they're threatening, or not threatening, there's the potential of getting shut in. So we got that call on Sunday. We were able to mobilize on Monday morning. We got set up Monday afternoon and began testing that evening. The next Tuesday, we continued with the testing. And by that evening, we were able to determine that it was a foaming issue, and brought them on a great anti-foam prescription. And that by Tuesday evening, they were back on spec. There was no threat to get shut in, and they were producing gas at a regular rate.
There you go.
Now, on the other side, we provide very large projects. So 4 months planning. We did a recent project in Louisiana where we're on our schedule for 4 months. We're working through it. And this was a huge project, 21 absorbers, 5 regenerators, 5 flash drums. We're on site for 7 days, testing in and out of every piece of equipment, getting as much information as we can, and then delivering that on site to the client, and as well as optimization of each piece of equipment. So the range in between is where we like to sit and what we take pride in. With that, of course, there's engineering studies, capacity. Can we get more gas through, or more processed gas through the unit? Turn down studies. We aren't getting as much feed rates. How low can we go on the process side? And then everything in between, from startups, shutdowns, everything in between. So our range is quite significant.
Boy, is it ever. So Imraan, from your point of view, I mean, the expertise that's offered by SGS, of course, is huge. And Sulphur Experts has now joined you. So what are the benefits to our customers?
Well, PJ, there's a natural synergy that's created between SGS and Sulphur Experts. We're now able to extend additional value to our clients by expanding the number of services that we offer. SGS, as you mentioned earlier, has extensive capabilities in the upstream sector, in which we support activities for exploration and production and make sure that we're helping our clients be able to produce the most oil and gas products. Traditionally, also, we've supported the requirements for finished products. But now with Sulphur Experts, we're providing solutions at some of the most challenging problems our customers are facing during the processing of these products. So between the time it's extracted from the ground and the time it leaves the refinery, we use Sulphur Experts to be able to assist our clients in being able to address some of these issues that they're having. Also, with SGS and having a global footprint throughout the globe, we look forward to getting Sulphur Experts services out to additional markets as well.
Wow, so much great information. And if you're just joining us, I am talking to my 3 experts, Imraan Nabi from SGS and Derek Zaharko and Richard Pawlik from Sulphur Experts, member of the SGS group. And we are on SGS Live talking about sulfur testing, among so many other topics. Don't forget, we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this interview. And if you want to drop in a question, we would love to try and get to it. And that's just in the chat window below. Now, let's get back to some more questions. I want to talk training, which is near and dear to my heart. What kind of importance do you place on that? And what kinds of training do you do? I'm going to start with you at Sulphur Experts, Richard, and then ask Derek to please weigh in.
Okay, great question. So like we've talked about before, you've heard a couple times, we've talked about testing, troubleshooting, and training. So what makes us different from other companies is there's testing companies out there. All they do is provide analytical services, and very good analytical services. There's also engineering companies out there, and they specialize in consulting and engineering, but they don't do any analytical services. And then there's training companies out there. All they do is training. We provide the testing, and that's just where we're getting started. Then we use that test data and troubleshoot problems. Then after having provided the troubleshooting, we now have an intimate knowledge of how the process works. So now we're set up perfectly to provide training to engineers and operators to help prevent those issues from happening again in the future. And this happens all the time. We'll have a client contact us and ask us to come out and do a test. And then as we do the test, we find out there's a very good reason why there is a problem occurring, such as plugging or why their catalyst life isn't lasting as long as it should. And then they say, okay, that's a great catch. Now, how do I prevent that from happening in the future? Can you train my engineers and operators? Yes, we can. That's exactly what we do. Testing, troubleshooting, and training.
So you guys clearly put the expert in sulfur experts. Derek, I'm sure you've got something to add.
Yeah, no, great points there, Richard. And just to add on that, and I'll use the example of that Louisiana refinery. Okay, so we have all this data and we build this beautiful report for our clients, a lot of information in there. And that gets shared between the engineers and a few of the operators, the people that are interested in the day-to-day. But what a awesome tool for us to have to create a training curriculum. So what we provide is these on-site training courses after a project such as the Louisiana project. And we are able to tailor our training to their specific issues, process, and everything in between. So this is a very personal type training that and sharing of knowledge for everybody who's involved in operating those units. So that's one key thing that we do with these projects, as the Richard mentioned, the testing, the troubleshooting, and training as an extension. Then we also have our staple courses. And these staple courses we provide are 5 days long, and this is everything you need to know on the topics of amine treating and sour water stripper and sulfur recovery. And these are not only just textbook type chemistry type of processes. What our instructors do is they provide this training with the actual war stories. The same trainers that are doing these the training and the instructing are the same guys that are on your site doing the troubleshooting, doing the testing, doing all the engineering work on site. So these guys have a wealth of engineering stories, a wealth of operating war stories. And that's what we really, really focus on is real world experience. And just to touch on some of the things coming up here, the exciting training we have coming up, we do have Malaysia in November, which is a 5-day course in Malaysia, which we're excited for. We have Amsterdam, our typical Amsterdam 5-day course in October for amine and sulfur. We have our Kananaskis Canada in September. So we're excited for that. And then as soon as next week, we have our amine treating next week in Kima, Texas from April 25th to 29th. And we have our sulfur course from May 2nd to May 6th. So we're excited. We're going to be instructing a packed house, which we're excited for the first time since COVID. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know what? We're going to put the link in the chat for people to be able to go and find out more information. And also, if they scan the QR code that's at the bottom of each of your names, it will take them to a contact form. There's our QR code. It will take them to a page where they can access a contact form to be able to get in touch, which is fantastic. Okay, Imraan, you and I both know that SGS is really big on training and continuing education. So seeing that in sulfur experts, how important is that to you and also to our customers?
Oh, extremely important, PJ. Training and continuous education is essential in what we do, not only from a safety perspective, but it also allows us to enhance our behaviors and actions to ensure that we're working towards and implementing the most optimal and effective solutions that our clients are seeking. We find this to be a key factor in differentiating SGS and sulfur experts from our competitors. SGS also has SGS Academy, where we offer a lot of online training to our current staff, and we also have in classroom services as well. Right now, we have an 8-week course going on for new inspectors. We bring them in, we provide them real-world training on simulated instrumentation and equipment that we have at our facility. And then eventually towards the later part of the completion course, they actually are paired with senior inspectors and they go on site to be able to start learning how to pull these samples, how to properly gauge. And this not only allows our personnel the experience necessary to be able to support our clients, but we also bring in our clients and show them this as well. So they start to have the confidence in knowing that we are actually putting practices in place to make sure that the work that our personnel are doing for them is being performed at the highest level of excellence.
You know what? That's amazing. So Derek, I'm going to come back to you because between the testing, the training, the troubleshooting, there's the 3 T's, and you're at dozens of facilities every year. How do you keep it all straight?
I got to say it's not easy. As I mentioned before, We work in a range of projects, and we are all out all the time, it seems. And this is what's really appealing with this partnership with SGS, this merger with SGS, is the fact that you guys SGS is so globally visible. So there's locations everywhere in the world. The support that we can get locally is what appeals to us with SGS. The fact that we'll be able to service clients on all four corners of the world in a timely manner, that's what's appealing to us. So we're really excited to expand our capabilities and our client service to the world.
You know what? It's about kind of both sides of the relationship. SGS and Sulphur experts, you each have a ton of global experience, but it feels to me that this is a bit more familiar relationship. So I'd like to know, how do you each see the way that your expertise sort of intersects and intertwines? Imraan, I'm going to go to you first.
Sure. So again, being able to add the expertise of Sulphur experts just increases the overall value that we provide to our clients. We're there for them in the starting of the process. We're there for them in the end of the process. Now we're working closely with them during the middle of the process, where they're actually looking to refine their products and make sure that they're meeting client specifications as well. So I think it offers our ability to be able to service our clients fully, or a larger range. We're able to do that in a manner in which we continue to add on that value to our clients and be able to extend the range of services that we're able to offer them.
What about you, Derek? How do you see it?
No, exactly. For SGS, we provide a value added. They're wonderful at providing the analysis, and we're excited to provide that value added. But as I mentioned before, our big opportunity with SGS is global outreach. We want to be able to service our clients in a very efficient manner and accurate manner. And SGS provides that flexibility for our team to get around the world quickly and efficiently. And we're really excited to see where this takes us and the ability to help our clients in a more efficient manner.
So for our audience, don't forget, you can scan that QR code if you want to be in touch, and we hope you are. So in my mind, Sulphur Experts provides what I call crisis management, analysis, and solutions. So can you guys walk me through a customer issue and what happens next? Richard, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. From a crisis standpoint, I have a very good example of something that happened a few months ago with a client who was starting up their sulfur recovery unit after a planned shutdown. When they were starting up the unit, they noticed that it began to plug off, meaning that they couldn't force the gas through like they normally can. Kind of like if you imagine an artery that's clogged up with a bunch of plaque, it can't push blood through like it's supposed to. Well, that was happening with the sulfur recovery unit. And the reason why that's a big problem is because the sulfur recovery unit is the tail end of the refining process. Ahead of the sulfur recovery unit are all of the other big units that make the very, I guess I should say, revenue generating products: gasoline, jet fuel, diesel. They all need to flow through the sulfur recovery unit. And if it's not working properly, then all those other units upstream might potentially shut down, which becomes very costly for the operator. So they're starting up, they notice the sulfur recovery unit's plugged, it might not be able to operate by the time these other units come online. So they call us, Sulphur experts, can you please come help us quickly? We absolutely were able to. They called us on a Friday. We were there on a Monday, stayed there with them for a few days. We're able to figure out what was causing the plugging, gave some tangible steps, do items 1, 2, 3. And then once they were able to do those, the sulfur recovery unit became unplugged. They were able to operate again. Everyone upstream in the refinery gave a huge sigh of relief. Okay, now we know that has been cleared. We can begin operating again, and crisis averted. Thank you, Sulphur experts. That's how we manage crises around here.
I like crisis averted. Derek, do you have any more information for me?
Yeah, no, that's just a typical example of what we work with all the time. And it's what we typically do is all our wonderful clients have great technical support internally, but we are the ones they call when they can't figure it out. As Richard said, a crisis is part of our business. And as I mentioned before, in the Louisiana plant, there's also more performance hygiene check type work. I mentioned medical terms in the past. We are known as the process doctors, and we all work in the emergency room, and we're general practitioners. That seems to be where we fit. So we're trusted a lot when all else fails, and also for fresh eyes.
You know what? I've got one more question before we get to our Q&A. And if you have a question for our three experts, Imraan, Nabi, Derek Zaharko, and Richard Pawlik, then please feel free to drop them in the chat. But right now, here's our final question. Imraan, I'm going to start with you. Actually, I'm just going to go to you. From the SGS perspective, and as we were talking about before, an ordinary situation, what does the workflow look like when you're working with a customer? Let's start with upstream and let's go all the way through to the final product.
Sure. So on the upstream side, I mean, clients are generally working with us to increase their production, whether that's oil and gas. We're doing reservoir simulations. We're doing various tests to ensure that they're not plugging up their wells and that this product is coming out as quickly as possible and in the most efficient manner as well. So once we're able to increase efficiency on their output, then we start working with them on the tail end of it once their products are actually finished and gone through the refining process. Once they're through the refining process, we're able to validate and make sure that their products are meeting the specifications of their buyers and other clients. And by being able to perform that analysis at that time, we're able to help them troubleshoot any issues they may have going forward. Or at that point, we're able to identify specific issues they're having with their product, be able to have them go back and try to resolve that before they actually put that product out commercially.
I'm going to put Derek on the spot a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about that timeline. Can you sort of fill that in for me?
Yeah, thanks, PJ. I got a little bit off topic here, but I'm very excited to see the diversity of people tuning in from all over the world. Exciting to see this little hello on everyone that's all four corners of the world seems to be represented on this live SGS Live, and it's exciting stuff. Yeah, for us, it's a lot of it is just we get calls from clients, and it really what we discussed already. It's a full range of leads through the entire cycles, and it can be by telephone, by email, by word of mouth. So we're as we mentioned before, we're all over the place when it comes to accessing us and what we can provide.
You know what? There's that QR code again if people want to be in touch. Okay, it's time for our Q&A. And I've got a great question right off the top. And that is, you know what? I kind of feel that SGS and Sulfur experts are both in the business of answering questions, providing answers. So what I want to know is, are each of you answering the same questions? I'm going to start with you, Derek.
Yes and no. Like as Imraan had mentioned before, we're value added. SGS is well renowned around the world for providing detailed answers. They provide answers in a very detailed and very accurate way. What we provide is solutions. So for us, those answers and interpretation is what kind of the world we live in is. What does this analysis, what do these results mean, and how do they affect my process? And that's where we come up with the answers to help optimize and troubleshoot for our clients.
So Imraan, it's not necessarily the same questions, but you obviously complement one another. So how does that work?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're talking to the same clients, but we're talking to different people within those clients, and we're helping them resolve some of the challenges and issues that they're having with their products through the analysis. And, when we find out the issues they're having, we're able to perform that analysis and again, lean on Sulfur experts to be able to provide those types of solutions as well. So we really complement one another in the services that we provide. And again, it's all about providing that value added service to our clients as well. Once they don't have to now go around looking for answers through different companies, we really become a one-stop shop once they start facing some of these issues.
You know, that one-stop shop concept is extremely, extremely attractive to lots of people. And we've talked a lot in this session about local situations and global expertise from both of you. So I want to know how this global network impacts the scalability for Sulfur experts. Derek, I'm going to come to you first.
Oh, it's huge. As I mentioned before, with SGS having such a global presence, it's really a game changer for us. And to the sense where we're able to serve our clients more efficiently and effectively. That's where at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And that's what is so appealing about SGS is that we have such a similar business structure of client first, client satisfaction first. And the fact that they are globally present throughout the world with the same mindset as our group, where clients come first, that's just like I said, it's just a game changer for us.
Okay, well, all I can say is this has been so very interesting. Imraan, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Well, I mean, I'll second some of the comments that Derek is making over there as well. You know, SGS has a global network. So now Sulphur Experts goes from a few hundred staff members to now over 90,000. You know, it goes from, a few offices to now over 2,600 offices. So we provide Sulphur Experts the infrastructure they need for that scalability as well. I mean, yeah, they were doing great prior to us joining forces. I think now it just offers them tremendous more opportunity to be able to reach out to their clients around the globe, and then also our clients. We're able to offer our clients now this solution that, hey, look, well, we're working with your finished products. Why don't we now work with some of the challenges that you're facing within your processes as well? Because if we can offer that type of support, it just, again, adds on to the goodwill that we're providing for our clients as well. And it increases our relationship and our ability to support them. At the end of the day, we're really looking to add value to our clients. And I think by offering multiple solutions for them, we really do deliver that.
You know what? This is just great. What terrific information for our audience. But before we go, Derek, you apparently have some good news about the training courses.
Yeah, and now that I've seen the people that are attending or tuning in, this is even more exciting. Sulphur Experts here, we want to offer this SGS Live and anyone watching a discount to our training in Kemah, Texas next week and the week after. As I mentioned, it's a quick turnaround. We do have some room available, although we're filling quickly. But our discount code is SGS Live 300, as shown below here. And feel free to use the link provided and then hit the code on registration and receive $300 off your registration fee.
That is wonderful. So a big thank you to my experts today, Imraan Nabi from SGS, and of course, Derek Zaharko and Richard Pawlik from Sulphur Experts. You guys have been wonderful in your talk today. So thank you so much for joining us.
PJ, thank you for having us, and thank you very much for all of our viewers around the world.
Thank you, PJ. It's been great, and we're excited.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
We're so glad you were here to be part of this interesting and informative session. Don't forget, if you want to learn more, visit our website, sgs.com. Go to the QR code. I'm PJ Kwong for SGS Live. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.